Is nicotinamide riboside hydrogen malate as good as nicotinamide riboside chloride for fasting?
Hi, I'm Chris Masterjohn, and I have a PhD in nutritional sciences. I am not a medical doctor, and nothing contained in this episode may be construed as medical or nutritional advice of any kind, or a substitute therefore. This episode is meant purely as scientific education. If you wish to act on any ideas presented in this episode, please consult your physician first, and never take anything herein as a reason to contradict medical advice. With that said, enjoy the episode. Nancy Weinbarger says, last AMA, you suggested that I address mitochondrial biogenesis and mitophagy in that order to help with my fluoroquinolone toxicity symptoms. Supplementing with CME during the fed state and with NR and resveratrol during fasts. I ordered Thorne's resveratrol because it includes resveratrol as well as 300 milligrams of chromodex's NR or nicotinamide riboside per serving, or at least it did. They just changed the formulation from the proprietary NR chloride to NR hydrogen malate at 415 milligrams per serving. Do you have any thoughts on resveratrol or this formulation change? Someone on a Reddit thread said that there are no human studies using the hydrogen malate version of NR, so I'm just a little wary of it as I don't want to undo all my recent progress. Also, since I plan to ease back into fasting, I was thinking of starting with a 24-hour fast and supplementing with half the dose of resveratrol, so just over 200 milligrams of NR hydrogen malate. Would that be a waste of NR, or could I see some effect from such a short fast and half the dose? P.S. As you suggested, I upped my carbs as well as taking CME, and in the last couple of days, my tendon and joint pain has been almost non-existent, and my energy levels are back up, so it seems to be working. Thank you. Well, that's great, Nancy. I'm glad that you're getting a lot of benefit for your tendon and joint pain and energy. That sounds awesome. So I actually have some resveratrol myself, and I was using it because I had some free reward credits on iHerb, and I could get that. And the amount of resveratrol in it is so small that it's largely meaningless. And it had NR in it, and so I could get it for free with my iHerb credits instead of paying, quite a bit for True Niagen. Although I've used True Niagen in the past as well, and I'm not. The reason it's still in my cabinet, it still has NR in it, is because I'm not really using it regularly right now. So I'm not really familiar with NR hydrogen malate. So let me just look at the structure of this thing and see if anything pops out of. I mean, there's no human studies, right? So then the question is, can we reason anything about it? So So it's a reduced form of nicotinamide riboside defines a new path for NAD biosynthesis and acts as oral NAD precursor. NRH acts as a more potent and faster NAD precursor than NR in mammalian cells and tissues. Despite the minor structural difference, we found that NRH uses different steps and enzymes to synthesize NAD, thus revealing a new pathway. Interesting. So it's orally bioavailable in mice. Well, that sounds like the hydrogen's very significant. So this is from 2019. So with all right. Let's see if they describe the difference in structure here. Do they have the structure diagram? It looks like A is chemical structure of NRH is right here. So if we compare that, we've got NH2 carbonyl, 2 double bonds here instead of 3. All right, so this has 3 double bonds and a positive charge on the nitrogen. NRH has 2 double bonds and no positive charge on the nitrogen.
in that case, I don't know why the malate is in there. That's confusing. Anyway, the gist of this paper is that it undergoes different metabolism. And so, and there's arguing that it's superior in mice. But that sort of opens up the question that if the metabolism is fundamentally different through fundamentally different pathways, then it may be superior or inferior in humans, because those pathways aren't necessarily going to have, mammalian pathways in general are conserved, but that doesn't mean that they're operating at the same proportions in mice and humans. So I would say this opens up a big question mark about its bioavailability in humans. But I'm just out of curiosity. I want to see what the logic is of why this is. Maybe in the discussion they bring out the basic argument. To date, it's been generally considered that 5 molecules can act as direct NAD precursors. Here we report a new one. In cultured cells, NRH acted as extremely potent, between 5 and 10-fold NAD synthesis. They show the pathway. Higher effects than NR in the liver and muscle after injection. Well, after injection. Who's injecting this stuff? Maybe possibly NRH is not degraded to NAM in plasma. Well, neither is NR. It's degraded to NAM in the liver, and it circulates as the NAM is released from the liver. Yeah. Okay. So I don't think you should use it and assume bioavailability. Sorry. It's too different, and once they sort of demonstrated in mice that it was fundamentally different, going through fundamentally different pathways, and they don't know exactly all the whys, but that it fundamentally is not sharing the same normal pathways of niacin metabolism, then I think that it becomes necessary to do the human study to at least demonstrate the oral bioavailability relative to other forms. With all that said, I mean, the data, even from the studies done on NR, the data aren't that convincing that it's superior to nicotinamide. And so if you can't get NR, I do think NR there's reasons to consider it better than nicotinamide. NR and NMN probably. I think NMN is probably degraded to NR in the GI tract. And so, or food NADH, which is probably digested down to NR and absorbed intact largely. But it's probably the human studies are not at the point where we can say that it's clearly superior to nicotinamide. If I had to bet on one being marginally better, I would bet on NR. I wouldn't place any bets on NRH, which is this nicotinamide. The malate doesn't matter. It's the hydrogen. The hydrogen makes the NRH, and it totally alters the pathways in a way that hasn't been studied in humans at all. And so I wouldn't place any bets on it at all. But if I couldn't get NR, I wouldn't be worried about taking nicotinamide to get largely the same results. I would just, I'd place a little bit of a bet on NR being marginally better than nicotinamide. Okay, so the rest of your question was, since you plan to go back into fasting, you're thinking of starting a 24-hour fast and supplementing with half the dose of resveratrol, so just over 200 milligrams NR hydrogen malate. Would that be a waste of NR, or could I see some effect from a short fast and half the dose? So first of all, you shouldn't call it NR. It's NRH, and it's a totally different animal. And then resveratrol doesn't have that much resveratrol in it. I mean, I don't know if they also changed that, but resveratrol has got to be in gram amounts to, let's see if it shows up here. Resveratrol has got to be in gram amounts to do anything. Oh, this is giving me niacin. Can you respond in the comments how much resveratrol is in it? Well, maybe you get to that quicker than I do. All right, I think I found it. 150 milligrams. Okay, great. So, yeah, I mean, 150 milligrams is like not enough resveratrol to do anything at all, and so it's a totally inadequate dose of resveratrol paired with a completely unknown NAD precursor of NRH that hasn't been studied in humans and that has been shown in mice to be totally different than NR. So it's nothing but, half of it we know isn't enough and half of it we have no idea. So I do think that, generally speaking, niacin is something you can have all the time, because although fasting does pair with certain NAD responses, you also need niacin in the fed state. So you need NAD to do anabolic things. You need NAD to do catabolic things. You need NAD to process your food energy. But you use up NAD for processes that are upregulated in the fasting state. And so NAD is really a sort of universal trans-fed fasting state thing. So if there's really nothing wrong with just trying to boost your NAD levels all the time. And I would use NR, or if it's too expensive, or if it's too expensive or you don't have access to it, I'd use nicotinamide. And I wouldn't use NRH. And if you want to amplify the fasting state with resveratrol, I would take something in like the 1, 2, 3, 4 gram amount. And I generally think that resveratrol is better for a multi-day fast, because the half-life is such that it would take over a week to clear it all. But even if you're starting with 24-hour fast, if you're going to do the 24-hour fast once a month, then you're basically like, very much amplifying it. If you take it the day before or the day of, you are, amplifying it, and you're going to get a sort of lagging fasting state signal as you refeed from the resveratrol still in your system. But after, it'll keep going down the whole time, and then after a week it'll be gone. And so I think resveratrol is better paired with a longer fast, taken just in the first half of the fast. But it's there's nothing wrong with taking a 24-hour fast, as long as you're not doing the 24-hour fasts frequently. If you're doing them once a week, then you're pretty much always going to have resveratrol mimicking the fasting state in your system. And that you don't want that. Nancy follows up, can I take NR or nicotinamide in conjunction with SAMe while in the fed state? Yes. So NR nicotinamide is a trans fasting fed state thing. SAMe is a fed state thing. Resveratrol is a fasting state thing. All right. Thank you for your question, Nancy. Hope that helped. You're welcome.
This episode was part of a Q&A for members of the CMJ Masterpass, where I hold monthly private Zoom Q&As for my members. The Masterpass also serves as a buyer's club with exclusive and massive discounts on your favorite premium foods and health products, including pasture-raised and wild meat and seafood, supplements, sleep accessories, water filters, phototherapy devices, and much more. If you'd like to participate in these Q&As, you can join the Masterpass at chrismasterjohnphd.com/masterpass and use the code Q&A, spelled Q-A-N-D-A, Q&A, for 10% lifetime discount. I am currently working full-time on finishing my first book, Vitamins and Minerals 101, How to Get the Nutrients You Need on Any Diet. I will let you know when I have a release date. In the meantime, you can pre-order the book at chrismasterjohnphd.com/book. Testing Nutritional Status, the Ultimate Cheat Sheet, has been newly released as version 1.3. This is my comprehensive system for managing nutritional status with lab tests, dietary analysis, and comprehensive intake of your signs and symptoms. The new version has a comprehensive guide to interpreting the Genova methylation panel. You can pick up your copy at chrismasterjohnphd.com/cheat sheet. In my consulting, I am neither a medical practitioner nor a coach. I serve as your data analyst and your strategist. I teach you scientific principles of health and wellness, help you analyze your data, and help brainstorm actionable strategies. You can sign up for a consultation at chrismasterjohnphd.com/consultations. Please consider supporting my work at no extra cost to you by visiting my support page and making a purchase with one of my affiliate links. Some of my most popular affiliates are also listed in the description of this video, with links that will give me credit for your purchase. I will try to respond to comments when I can, but my presence will be intermittent while I'm finishing my book. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next episode.